Welcome to the Nerdlore podcast, where we talk stories, theories, and lore. I'm one of your three hosts, Shiny Shoes.
And I'm Crashstarling.
And I'm TheRealSkandle.
Tonight, we're going to be recording episode 1 of 2 for conspiracy theory. Each one of us has a couple of them that are really important to us. I'm going to start off. The first one that I want to go into tonight is the Russian sleep experiment. Now, this one, when it comes to conspiracy theories, it's not necessarily believed as a real thing. It was a Reddit kind of creepypasta. But the first time I ever read it, it came across to me not as a creepypasta, but as a conspiracy theory, as something that people had believed and kind of followed into. And I remember just sitting there, and I think I was at work, just reading this entire article for probably close to 30 minutes because it had so much information. I was like, whoa, it is crazy that people would do this to other people. So the thought process behind it was the Russians took a group of individuals and they put them in a room in this kind of underground vault, if you will, and they sealed it up, but they pumped gas into the room, and the gas kept the individuals from being able to fall asleep. They'd be able to get to the point where they're right at going to sleep, but could not fall asleep. And they wanted to study the effects of these individuals at that point.
From sleep deprivation?
Yeah, from extreme sleep deprivation.
Yikes,
And they wanted to see what happened, like what was going to go on with these individuals. So it starts off and it's kind of normal, normal sleep things. So the people are tired, they're kind of groggy. And then weird stuff starts to happen. So again, the individuals begin talking to themselves, hearing voices, and more so acting very suspicious of one another, hitting each other. Well, as it go on, the mental state of the individuals who are locked inside this chamber begins to deteriorate. And slowly, well, as it starts to go down, the hygiene of the individual starts to come into question as well. They stop using facilities and just go to the bathroom on the floor or wherever they're standing. And then they begin to take all of that and kind of smother it across the cameras and everything else in the room. So the individuals watching the experiment no longer have any visual. They can just hear what's going on in the room. And they're hearing weird voices they hadn't heard before, stuff going on that shouldn't be going on in a room. So the individuals decided, you know what? We're going to open this room up and see what's going on in there. They opened the door, and the individuals in the room had sunken, swollen eyes. The one I read was talking about basically they had cut off parts of their eyelids. They didn't need sleep anymore. They went in and they wanted to do some testing and stuff on them. Well, the individuals in the room had become pretty much feral. So one of the doctors approached them, and the individuals killed them. Killed that doctor, and kind of drug him across the room and everything. So the other doctor's like, whoa, we gotta get out of here. So they leave. They come back. They don't find the body of the first doctor. They start tranquilizing. By this time they had come back, there was supposedly only one person left out of the entire group of individuals that was in the room before. So they kind of tie the guy down, and they're talking to him and everything else like that, and he's literally just gone insane at this point. They're trying to figure out what happened to everything else in there, and why were they able to hear like so many voices over the audio, but they come in there and there's only one person in the room, and the guy's talking crazy. So they bring the guy out of the room up into basically natural light and stuff like that, and the individual dies immediately. They still don't know what happened, what was going on there, but the scientists were concerned. They're like, one, they were in a locked room. Where did these bodies go? And more so, even in the locked room, why could they hear so many voices when it was only one person in the room? After that, they decided that that experiment was something that they should not pursue. And it was supposedly sealed away until someone happened upon the records, of course, and created this creepy pasta. I think it's really interesting that we take something that we would take for granted. Like, a lot of us we say, oh yeah, I'm sleep deprived, I only get 4 or 6 hours a night. But the thought process of what happens when you're at 3 days with no sleep, 4 days with no sleep, 5 days? What really happens in the mind?
I know.
Yes.
I literally actually was writing up concepts for a short story about sleep. And they say that, like, I think it's after 38 hours. Not 38. That's not too. It's like, I want to say it's close to 30 that you become psychotic.
Yeah, I know you start hallucinating after, it's like at 29 plus, you gain the ability to start hallucinating. And then beyond that, that's even one of the reasons why under TOS, it only lets you stream for like, I think it's like 26 or 20 hours straight. And then after that, you not gain the ability, but your body will start hallucinating because you're so tired. And I always, when we get into like sleep and dream stuff, I think that's very interesting. Like the movie Inception, that literally, not gonna say it blew my mind, but I was watching it the whole time like, this is amazing. When it comes to scary movies, I've always thought like Freddy Krueger, man, the dude that beats you up while you're sleeping, like, because everybody's got to sleep.
No. Ultimate counter, lucid dreamer.
That's
you see Freddy Krueger come around with some claws.
Yo,
and you're like,
that is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dreamwalkers. The lucid dreamers fought Freddy in their dreams. That was a good one. That is a good one. So, so what is your conspiracy theory, Skandle, if it is a theory?
This is a conspiracy theory. I'm going to move you guys over to my other monitor so I can look at my notes. 1 second. Sorry. Okay. So, I didn't want to get too political, right? I didn't want to get too crazy into government and politics and start a debate or whatever. But I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of this. There's this term out there that people use. It's known as the Clinton Mafia. Are either one of you familiar with this at all?
I don't know about that, but a term that I was just introduced to this last weekend is the Build-A-Bear group. Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Like, it's all the most powerful individuals on the planet.
I don't know if that's what they're called.
Okay.
But yeah, that's like a thing. Yeah, that's why Jeffrey Epstein was killed. Because he had a black book full of all these people that did stuff, spent how much money at his private island.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, we can get to that. So the Clinton Mafia, right? So basically what this is all about is that the Clintons, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, have been in politics for a long time, right? Like before Bill Clinton was president, he was the governor of Arkansas or mayor governor of Arkansas. What is that called when you're like a high political figure? Is that the
senator,
the Senate, or the Congress? Yeah, whatever. So he was really high up in there, right? So they've been in politics for a long time, and during his entire time of being in politics, there's been a lot of questionable things that have happened. A lot of assault, sexual assault, and things like that have been claimed against him. We all know about Monica Lewinsky and I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. So
I can't wait for that clip.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, you did.
So anyway, so basically what's been happening is they started going back, and all these people who have like died from these so-called suicides and freak accidents have ties to the Clinton family. Updating Steam apparently. Dude, I'm telling you, dude, we're going to delve into these conspiracy theories and shit, stuff like that's going to happen.
They're listening now.
All right.
Text from the FBI right now. Don't move.
So
Wait.
I'll give you a couple of examples as far as like some of these people, who they were, what they were tied to, and how they died. Right? Okay, so there's upwards of like 38 people who are associated with the Clintons that have died in mysterious ways. Okay, so James McDougal, he's the number one on the list. This is the convicted White House partner. So Whitewater was the whole thing between his Clinton and the sexual assaults and being impeached. Okay, so this guy James McDougal was convicted. He was a convicted Whitewater partner, and he died of an apparent heart attack while in solitary confinement. And he was a key witness in Ken Starr's investigation. Now, Ken Starr was the guy who was doing the investigation for the impeachments of Bill Clinton. Okay. So then, there's Mary Mahoney, a former White House intern, was murdered July 1997 at a Starbucks coffee shop in Georgetown. The murder happened just after she was to go public with her story of sexual harassment in the White House. Vince Foster, former White House counselor and colleague of Hillary Clinton at Little Rock's Rose Law Firm, died of a gunshot wound to the head and ruled a suicide. So there's just like all these people that are associated with the Clintons that have died. So and some of them, they're all suicides by gunshots, or plane crashes or whatever. They're all so alike in how they. So like Ron Brown, Secretary of Commerce and former Democratic National Convention chairman, reported to have died by impact in a plane crash. A pathologist close to the investigation reported there was a hole in the top of Brown's skull resembling a gunshot wound. At the time of his death, Brown was being investigated and spoke publicly of his willingness to cut a deal with prosecutors. And the rest of the people on the plane also died. And a few days later, the air traffic controller then committed suicide. So like, so I know, right? Like it's now. Again, this is a conspiracy theory. We don't know if the Clintons are actually involved in all this stuff.
Talking about
This is all allegedly.
Right, exactly. Or James Bunch. This ought to sound familiar to you guys, right? He died from a gunshot suicide, and it was reported that he had a black book of people which contained names of influential people who visited prostitutes in Texas and Arkansas. Sounds pretty familiar, right? Kind of like what Jeffrey had. There's James, ex-wife of Danny Ferguson. Oh, okay. Let me see if I can find Danny Ferguson real quick because.
Can we make a little jab here while you're looking up that note?
Yeah.
You know what would be a really good idea is if you're having, hundreds of really, really powerful people do something explicitly illegal or probably really bad. Let's write all their names down for future reference.
It's called blackmail, and sometimes it doesn't end well.
Oh, clearly. You end up trying to die.
Yo, I'm not even going to write my own name down on paper anymore after hearing this. Like,
all right, so get this one. So Kathy Ferguson was ex-wife of Arkansas trooper Danny Ferguson. She was found dead in May 1994 in her living room with a gunshot to her head. It was ruled a suicide, even though there were several packed suitcases as she was going somewhere. Danny Ferguson was a co-defendant along with Bill Clinton in the Paula Jones lawsuit. Kathy Ferguson was a possible corroborator witnessing for Paula Jones. So like, so that's just stuff that's happened from like 1996, right? We're going to come down here a little bit further because there's another like big story there's this guy Barry Seal, right? As that's his name, Barry Seal. He
name.
He got caught for drug trafficking because he was a pilot. He was bringing cocaine in to America. Well, and the CIA used him and his like social or whatever. He was important in the drug scheme. Everybody popular knew him. So the CIA used him to cartel drugs or to bring drugs over in exchange for weapons for one of these. I believe it was Nicaragua or somewhere like that. It was some sort of regime that was trying to get arms. So the CIA was funding arms by bringing drugs from them and trading the drugs for guns. And it was all happening in Mesa, Arkansas. How crazy is that would happen in Bill Clinton's backyard, right?
Just wild. Just wild.
So Barry Seal, his death happened and nobody thinks it's an accident. But what's crazy is there were these two kids. They were 15, 16 or 16, 17. I can't remember. Kevin Ives and Don Henry, right? So these kids are known as the boys on the track. Reports say the boys may have stumbled upon the Mena, Arkansas airport drug operations, which we're talking about Barry Seal. A controversial case. The initial reported death said due to falling asleep on railroad tracks. Now, what they say is that these two kids were going hunting and doing what's called spot hunting or whatever. So basically, they have a flashlight, they shine it in their prey's face, they freeze like a deer in a headlight, and then they shoot them with this 22 rifle that he had. That's what they said that they were doing. But what they're saying is that they smoked 20 marijuana cigarettes and fell asleep on the tracks. Just fell asleep on the tracks. And conveniently, the spotlight, or the flashlight, the gun, and like 3 marijuana cigarettes were still near them as they fell asleep on the tracks, and a train ran them over. But what's really crazy is, so this all happened, and they said that they died because they fell asleep, and then they had some second and third opinions, and turns out that one looked like he had a stab wound in his shirt, and the other one looked like he had been bashed in the back of his head with the rifle before they were put on the tracks to be ran over. Now, what's crazier about this story is
it gets crazier.
Yes, there were 6 people associated with just this case that then were found dead. Like Keith Coney died when his motorcycle slammed into the back of a truck. Keith McMaskill died. He was stabbed 113 times. Yeah, right. Here's the best one, right? What was this guy's name? Oh, here he is. Okay, the most recent one, which this is 2016, so it could be more recent ones now. This is the Seth Rich was the DC staffer who was cooperating with the WikiLeaks about the DNC's email scheme when Hillary was going for president. Okay, so he was found shot in the back of the head twice, execution style, by a robber who took nothing. His wallet was still there. He had a Rolex on. It's still there. Cash is still in the wallet. All credit cards. But it was a robbery, and that
snatched his life.
Yeah,
they definitely they got something.
Yeah, and there's like 11 bodyguards that have been found dead who have worked as bodyguards for the Clintons. Like, okay, so let me just finish this by saying this is a conspiracy. Okay, like it's not proven. There's a lot of weak data. I'm just trying to cover my own tracks so I don't commit suicide tonight. So yeah,
I'm willing to testify against him.
So mine was a little more conspiracy theorist, I guess is the word. How crazy is all this stuff, dude? Is it not like
So
like I've seen a lot of old TV shows, and this sounds very plausible in those TV shows.
I would say causation and correlation. We can't say that there is causation, but there is obvious correlation with
it's 47 people
that we know of,
man.
Allegedly.
Yeah, since 2016 there hasn't really been any updated report. Maybe it's because everybody's dead. I don't know.
That's just wild to think that. But it's true. Like, you think about it, would anyone here like disagree that if you have large amounts of money, you can pretty much do whatever you want to do? Would you argue with that?
No, it's literally how the laws work.
Yeah.
Like even small laws.
Yeah. That's why celebrities get away with drunk driving by just doing an apology letter or having a bracelet on for 3 months.
Yeah, it's wild that.
I will say that the stuff that happened with that chick from Full House.
With the paying for daughter.
That shit's been going on for forever. Years. Everybody has done that. Yeah. Oh, hey, your dad, you got accepted to school because your dad added a $2.5 million wing to the building. Like that's not new. I don't know why it became such a big deal.
Yeah.
It's happened all the time.
Like you go watch football games and you're like, that's the coach's kid. He's playing quarterback. Weird. So yeah, I mean that. Now we're all of a sudden we're upset about stuff like that, but I mean,
been going on for years. Okay, Crash. Why don't you Hit us up with your.
I was gonna say,
Oh, did you have something to add to it? Sorry.
I wanted to say, like, the funny thing about this conversation we've just had is that higher education is something that you have to pay for. Like, that is a very core concept. Is
Yeah.
weird. We're just like, of course, people are saying, like, of course this has been going on forever, and of course they pay a lot of money to get into college, and it's like, why can't I pay like 2 shekels and a McChicken to get into college like most of the boomers?
Whoa.
Shekels.
I don't think it was 2 shekels, but
Two
It might have been 3.
shekels.
No,
3
in
shekels,
other
a goat
countries-
leg, and a McChicken.
In
Yeah.
other countries, universities are free. When you go to
Yeah.
uni, it's free. Like in
Well,
other countries.
You think about
stuff's
that, like
free.
that's just investing in your own country's future. Like you train people to be good at like engineering and stuff like that, so that they build stuff in your country. Here,
Yeah, absolutely.
get a job.
You make most of your money off of room, so there's no reason why you couldn't just charge room and board for the people to like. The education is free, but you can drive here if you want to or do whatever you need to do. But if you want to stay on campus, it costs money.
Well,
Downvote, kids.
that's a conspiracy theory for a different day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Crash. Let's hear it.
all right, I'm going.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about Freemasonry, which I knew about, like, just in general terms of like conspiracy. Like, I'd heard Freemasonry before. I'm sure lots of people have. Like, it's something that comes up when you actually look up any conspiracy theory. And from what I've read, is that these were fraternities of stonemasons, and it was made in the 14th century. Now, I don't know what a bunch of bricklayers from the 14th century know, but eventually this led into a religious aspect where people will say, like, they worship Satan, they worship a bunch of like stone and work oriented gods and demons. Most of them,
Pagan gods.
yeah, pagan gods. And there are lots of people who claim that they're tied to a lot of different things. Like, they claim they control a majority of like the US's economy. They're the ones behind crazy income tax. This one actually threw me off. Is the Masons are intimately connected with the Illuminati or are the Illuminati. And I was like, I knew the Illuminati was like a joke, but it was also something that was very real. The world, the most powerful people control most of the world from the shadows. The shadows. But what was interesting to me about this was like how many things, like, if someone sent me a conspiracy list, like a conspiracy theory resume, this has everything. This has murder, it has demonology, this has like
Aliens.
it has aliens, income tax. They're the groups of the Ku Klux Klan and the Orange Order. Don't know what that is, but they're apparently tied to Freemasonry. Secret societies, things like I was under the impression that this was just some really old bricklayers, and I was like, oh, well, there are some bricklayers that know how to party, that's for sure.
Yeah, they've. I remember hearing stories growing up that they would like etch things in some of the stones that they made, the bricks, like runes and stuff like that, so that they could summon demons or whatever it is that they were doing. Like, this is it's weird because people can hear different things about the Freemasonry things, right? Like I heard more about religious things, and I don't know if it's because of the church or what, but like that's what I've heard mostly about. But other people have heard Freemasons are in charge of like Harvard and Yale and
all the Ivy
all
League schools.
Yeah, and they
Well,
have control over everything.
So, what? I think that Freemasons does go into that individuals kind of controlling the planet right now, and the way that I've always thought about the Freemasons and the things that I've always heard is like there's a group of them, but then there's even a more elite group among those of individuals, and those are like the top tier, like your Grandmaster Masons and stuff like that, and they pretty much make every decision. Like, are we gonna have World War III? Who's gonna be the next president? Everything is not made a decision by us across the planet. They make all the decisions, like what country's gonna what country's going to have a bad year economically, everything. So that's what I've heard about it.
I've heard more from that too, where it's like they control like socioeconomics and things like that. Like I'm reading some other stuff. Like there's quite a few things of like other conspiracy theories, like faking the moon landing, the something about the Knights Templar, which I have heard that, but I don't know what it is. Oh, human reptiles. The secret race that's controlling the planet. That's apparently connected to the Freemasons. Jack the Ripper. Didn't know that was a conspiracy theory, but apparently the Freemasons are behind that one. Wow, what haven't these guys done?
I know that Dan Brown, he got real famous about writing about the like Angels and Demons, the Da Vinci Code. He has another one. I don't know the last. Why do I want to say Dante's Inferno, but I don't think that's the name of the book. But I want to say that for some.
That is the name of a book.
I know. It's a poem as well, and it's really good. But he has a third book, and for some reason I want to say Dante's Inferno, but I know that's wrong.
Yeah, it's not Dante's Inferno. That was no, I can't think of his name, but it was in Latin.
Yeah,
a long time ago.
But his books were big, and they made movies off of them because they're so big. Because people were so like, yeah, this is probably happening, 100%. As we said just a couple minutes ago, if you have money, you can do crazy things.
Yes.
And like, if you're talking about the original group of people who were in charge of masonry, like, wasn't all of England pretty much made out of stone for a while? Like, they've got to have a lot of money. That costs a lot to do that, so wouldn't surprise me.
See, the more I read up,
go ahead.
I was just gonna make the more I read about this, the more I feel like I'm just like reading almost like a draft of National Treasure with Nick Cage.
We're gonna steal the
It's so
Declaration of
convoluted,
Independence.
Random, like completely like not connected to anything. It's great.
So your Illuminati, your Masonry, what could you feasibly believe that they can accomplish or do accomplish?
I would totally believe that a group of extremely powerful and wealthy individuals would 100% shape the economy in their favor, because that sounds the U.S. economy. That sounds completely plausible because they have most of the influence.
So I wonder if they have control. If this is let's say it's not a conspiracy, it's a real thing. Do they have control over what important or famous people die? Like, because did these individuals do something, or did they know too much? Did they need it to happen to divert attention from something else that was happening at the time? It's if that's what they're about, like, that's a lot of power, man.
Yeah, I could definitely see, as you said, someone controlling basic economy. Just think of us, like the average American citizen, the amount of knowledge we have on basic economics. I can't even say it. That's how little my knowledge is. Basic economics and how it works, and it'd be real easy. I could wholly believe fully that there is discussion beyond what we're privy to of who are going to be leaders of the world. That'd be easy to believe. Like, if what purpose does the Electoral College have if not?
I think the Electoral College is because states.
Hold on, you cut out.
You're cutting out.
You cut out like 3 times.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, shit, I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot what we were talking
about. About the Electoral College, and you were
like, the Electoral College like actually keeps states like California and Texas and New York that have just massive populations from being able to determine who the president is.
Yeah, and that's true.
I get the concept of if they won the popular vote, they should be president, and I understand that this keeps it so that these people don't go just talking to states.
But with that, would we need individuals to cast those votes? So you just allocate X amount of votes per each state, or X amount of points, and if an individual would win that state, they get that many points. But 5 times in history now, there has been a president who won presidency but lost the popular.
Yeah, and even if you used your point system, it accomplishes the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part. Like, no, don't get me wrong. There are a couple of those have been determined by people who were so electoral college works where your area wins, you get an electoral vote for the side that won. So if like you're a Republican and you won that area, and it gave you a electoral college vote. It was supposed to be. It's not in there that they have to vote that way, but and a couple times they have voted opposite of that, and that's why people that didn't win the.
Yeah, it's weird that they would. So like, let's say you had a job, and your job was to something simple. Like your job was to make chicken sandwiches, and every day your goal was to put lettuce on and put mayo on. That's how to make chicken, right? Lettuce and mayo. Well, you're doing a good job, but one day you're like, I'm gonna put ketchup on instead. Wrap that bad boy up and slide it on down.
Is that the sound it makes?
Wouldn't you be afraid of losing your job? And like, you would think those electoral college people, if they would vote against what the people want, what shouldn't there be repercussions for that? Is there? I don't know.
I really don't know, and I don't honestly know if the electoral college vote is one person or
it's a group. I know it's a group of individuals.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, is it if you get 17 electoral college votes from your state, are you sending just 17 individuals, or is there like a general? I don't know how any of that actually. I don't know if the electoral college is actually one. Like each vote is one person, or
yep,
that's
exactly right. Is that each person? I don't remember the exact numbers, but like let's say the state we're in has 3 votes, right? 3 votes for the electoral college. 3 people are designated from our government to cast those votes.
Oh, okay.
I'm fairly sure that's how it works. I'm almost positive.
If not, let us know in the comments.
In that case, I would think that those people would come back and find themselves not being reelected. That would be my guess.
But why? I mean, what could be a more cushy job than I work for the Electoral College? I just have to do, like, it's so.
I don't think that's all they do. Like okay. Crash was saying, they have like government. They have a seat in the government. They're either like just mayors or governors or whatever.
It'd just be so crazy to me to go against what everybody's trying to do. Like,
maybe it's the last hurrah before you retire.
Possibly, but that's just another thing. Like, it'd be easy to see how that could be manipulated incredibly easy.
Well, let's take it to the next level then. Let's think about it. The point was that none of us know for sure how the vote works, right? So how would you have repercussions? Who would assign those repercussions? It's up to the people to do that. And we don't know who is in charge of this. So since we don't know, we have no way to go after the person who voted against what we told them to do.
And who would be privy to that information? Because whoever is privy to that information could easily offer money or threats. Who
That'd
knows?
Be something to be good to look into. Like, how were the votes? Good. Good stuff. So, one, if we end up missing, Skandle's fault.
What did I do?
What didn't you do?
You know about the subject.
Dude, oh, you're talking about the conspiracy. Wow, dude, that like took a second for me to figure out what the hell you were talking about, dude. I was like, what the hell did I do?
So, that was our talk on conspiracy theories. So we will have another conspiracy theories talk. If you could let us know in the comments or send us a message on Twitter or Podbean or Spotify or YouTube. Let us know what kind of things you guys would like to see us delve into, or things you maybe want to talk about or hear us talk about. That'd be great. This has been Conspiracy Theories Part 1. This is Shiny Shoes.
This has been Conspiracy Theories Part 1. This is Crashstarling.
I'm Skandle.
See you guys next time.